What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
And if you know us, our mantra is no excuses. We've been consistent with our 2 episodes, putting out great content, putting our heart and soul into content, and of course, we're not going to stop, even though we're at the cottage right now. So this is a little bonus special episode, and that actually reminds me, this is actually our mic. So we're going to bring this nice and close. And you might hear a couple birds chirping, you might hear the water, the lake. It's going to be nice and chill, but we're of course going to be getting you motivated with some killer content as always. And we like to start off our Motivation Monday episodes with our primary question. So we are going to go ahead and jump into that. And the first question we have today is, I just ate a whole pizza after being so good and on track with my diet. What do I do now?
So this is a great question, especially because I'm pretty sure most of us have had a moment where we feel like we've fallen off and we are just wondering, how do I get back on track? And a lot of times I feel like there's 2 issues that commonly happen within this. The first thing is people feel the need to continuously go down that rabbit hole. Just, hey, I've already messed up my diet. I'm just going to keep it going. And then the other end, a lot of people feel the need to try to make up for it. So they end up going to the gym, doing tons of cardio, trying to restrict the next day. And it just becomes this very unhealthy obsession. And it's what you start to tell yourself is, when I mess up, I'm going to try to make up for it. And then you just beat yourself up over it. So these are 2 common mistakes for obvious reasons. And one thing I've learned over the years of doing, making mistakes myself and working with tons of clients who we have to navigate situations like this with, because we're all humans, we can all face that, is just sitting down with yourself and asking, why did this happen? So it's very easy to just go about your day and be like, oh, I'm going to try to fix it. I'm going to try to make up for it without actually paying attention. And this is a common mistake because you never learn from it. So I often will sit down with a pen and paper, or just overall with my thoughts, or especially with my clients, we'll send videos back and forth and text back and forth, and we'll actually sit down and figure out what was the cause of this and how can we avoid this and fix this going forward. So that's going to be my first thing, because if you don't learn from it, it's just going to keep happening. You're going to be spiraling. You're not going to be getting results, and it's just not going to work. And the second thing is just going back to life like normal. Once again, as I said in the common mistake number 2, a lot of times people will, let's say as an example, decrease their calories, and they'll say, because I went over by 1,000, this next day I'm going to go under by 1,000. And what happens is your body will start to crave even more food from that. You're going to be starving. You're going to be hating the journey, and you're just really going to dislike it. And then you're going to go over again. And it's just this constant up and down, up and down. And when you can face the reality and just move forward from that and just start fresh, it's going to be one of the best things. Instead of beating yourself up, instead of going and doing 2 hours of cardio, and I know this because I've been there before. When I was getting ready for a physique show years and years ago, I just remember if I would go over by the smallest amount, I would say, you know what, I've gone over by 300. I'm going to go to the gym right now, and it'd be like 10 p.m. And it was just a very unhealthy relationship, and it's just not worth it. So that's going to be one of my biggest tips. And I know Josh has a lot to share as well.
Yeah, balance is everything, especially in reference to this. Life happens. There's exciting moments. You're at your favorite childhood pizza place. You're at a special place like a cottage, and maybe you have an extra s'more or 2, and you're like, oh no, I've gone over. The second you have this attitude of all or nothing, either I'm 100% locked in, or if I mess up at all, I go off the deep end, you put yourself in a very dangerous place, because those 2 s'mores could turn into an extra bag of chips at night, could turn into having a bunch of other things, and you could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 calories over, when you could have said, you know what, I've enjoyed myself, I'm here, I had 2 s'mores, that's okay, the next day I'm going to be right back to it. That is not the end of the world. So when you have this like maximalist black and white attitude towards everything, that's where you're really going to mess yourself up, and you're going to end up in this vicious cycle where you're going to punish yourself for when you have those bad days and feel miserable and just be upset with yourself. And instead, I just like to analyze, like, what can I learn? It's like, maybe you had a moment, you ate too much, next day in the gym, you're going to be able to crush it really hard. You're going to have some extra energy to get out there and make it count. You can appreciate that time for what it was, and you can analyze, and you can say, wow, I really didn't like how I felt doing that. Like, I realized I was just eating all this food to make me happy, or I just ate extra because it was in front of me, and I'll do better next time cutting myself off. And you can learn from that. And then maybe the next day you woke up, you're a little more bloated, you didn't have as much energy, maybe you're lethargic. I find it's good to analyze how you feel and to make decisions, and also just being really aware of what causes you to spiral. I use an analogy previous where if you were to pull like a thread and you pull it really far, where does it lead? Where does that go? So even for me yesterday, a bowl of chips was out yesterday, the Miss Vicky's blue flavor, probably one of my favorite chips. And I know myself, I know if I had one chip, I would be having that whole bag. So I just made that conscious decision. I'm like, you know what? It's okay. I don't need this. I went out, I had an incredible ice cream cone. I ate some really good food. I really enjoyed that because I'm not even someone who is crazy about ice cream, but I love getting the special ice cream that's out here, like Kawartha ice cream. So went out, had some of that, and I appreciated that for what it was. I had a good day, and I kind of made that decision with that forward thinking because I made that mistake in the past. And it's not saying I never make mistakes now, but learning from that, I just think is one of the best things. And when you really do go off that deep, and I've used this analogy before, are you eating because you're sad? Are you eating because you want entertainment? Are you eating because you're stressed out? And like maybe look for a better source to solve that. So if you're stressed out, maybe try meditating, maybe go on a walk. If you're sad, try calling a friend, try doing something exciting. And just the same with everything I've been discussing here, like it's how you can learn and grow from it. And once again, if it's a really special event, we like the example of a wedding or you're at your favorite food place ever, a chef's curating something for you at a Michelin restaurant, someone's paying for everything and you're like, I really want to enjoy this special moment, make that conscious choice. But it's a lot better when you're in control and you have to understand it won't be the end of the world. But at the same time, it will hurt your progress. And that's why we're not a fan of cheat days, because a cheat day you can easily just buy into that mantra of I need to do everything. I need to go all in. It's like if I offered you a no limit to your spending day. I said, listen, get it out of your system, buy whatever you want, go crazy. You're going to max that credit card so quick because it's hard to really satiate yourself when you have no limits. And it's not to say you should always be pigeonholed, but that's where we track our macros, we hit our protein, we crush our calories. And if we deviate from that a bit, that's okay. Life goes on. And having that more reasonable mindset allows you to do this long term, because as we said before, any diet that's a short-term diet isn't going to be successful in the long term. So that's my long-winded answer to that question.
I really like that, and it got me thinking about the quote, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And while I think this is a really good question, the question I have for any of you that struggle with this is similar to what we've been saying. How can we avoid this from consistently happening? Because a lot of times it's just, we hear it so often in different ways. It's not just about eating a pizza, but it's like the weekends I just go above and beyond, and I feel like it's it's ruining my progress. And the truth is it potentially is. And while I love the tips of getting right back on track and not beating yourself up and doing endless cardio and also spending time thinking about it, you really have to ask yourself, why is this happening? And try to set yourself up for success to avoid it from happening consistently. And most people will never even address it. For weeks on end, they'll just go about their lives. They have this amazing goal to lose weight, to feel better. Monday to Thursday, they're really good. The weekend, they're horrible. And it's just this endless, vicious cycle. And that's one thing we do within our coaching program. For those of you who have come in here, but also if you're just listening and wanting to learn, is we take a full look at someone's situation and how we can navigate it, because it is easy to just say be better, to eat less calories, to just track your macros. But at the same time, when we have someone who has a lot of different cycles and thoughts and past histories of constantly failing, we can take a look at their situation and fully tailor this entire approach for them. And that's something we specialize in, because we realize everyone is so unique and different. And if you are someone who's been struggling, you can't lose those last 10 to 20 to 30 pounds, all you have to do is send us a message with the keyword fat loss to our Instagram. We're accepting 3 people right now at a discounted rate. And the best thing is, no matter how many times you failed, I can promise you that this is going to be the last stop for you, because we will take care of you. We guarantee your results, and we guarantee, once again, or your money back. And that's how confident we are to be able to help you out, because there's so many other things out there. There's a lot of people promising you all this crazy stuff, but we've helped every single person in very different, unique situations. And I am 100% confident in our ability to be able to help you. So message us fat loss to our Instagram, Colossus Fit, COLOSSUSFIT.
Yeah, that resonates with you, and I don't want you to feel that way. Like, don't hesitate to reach out, because being in pain is the worst feeling. And if you're in this cycle where you feel miserable when you do bad after doing well, and you want to see change so bad, but you just can't get there because you keep flip-flopping, nothing seems to work, this is the solution here. Being able to do this long term, to have sustainability, to not have to cut out your favorite foods. And if this keeps happening, you got to stop that somewhere. You got to put your foot down and end that. And that's where having a coach, someone to be on your side and say, hey, it's okay. It happens. Let's get back to it the next day. That is so valuable because, and that's why I love that rule of never miss twice, because if this happens, I had a bad Monday, I'll have another bad day. I'll get back to it on the weekend. The weekend comes, okay, I'll get back to it next Monday. I can do so much damage in that time. Whereas if I isolated that incident, I contained it like you would in a lab, it wouldn't be a big deal. You can zoom out, look at the big picture perspective. You can have someone to discuss this through, and you can have a coach. Like, I love helping my clients work through this so they stay away from eating disorders, unhealthy relationships with food, overly restrictive dieting, and this is the best way to go about it. So we popped off because this is a question we're very passionate about, and it really hurts me to see people struggling when they don't need to. We've helped 4,000 people for a reason, and like I said, let's stop the buck. I'm sure you've heard that expression, the buck stops with me, so you deserve this for yourself. Go ahead, DM us that keyword of fat loss, and we will take fantastic care of you. But now we're going to jump into our quotes as we like to do. I'm going to start with mine. It's nice and simple, and it's rest at the end, not in the middle. And that reminds me of Kyle's favorite quote of don't stop when you're tired, stop when you're done. But this is a great quote to live by. It's like when you're going to do something, see it through, finish it. It's easy to coast when you get close to that finish line, but that's where you should really be locking in. And this really just came to my mind because I was doing an annoying chore. I was trimming my trees, a lot of work. It was really exhausting because I have to bag it all up, chop it all up. It was a little tedious, and I wanted to say, okay, I'm going to leave this for midweek. But my week got absolutely chaotic. There's no way I would have done it. It would have been over my head. It would have bugged me. So tackling these problems head on, seeing them through is so important. And even with fitness, it's the same principle. When you're working out, finish that set hard, because when you do, you feel so much better than when you quit on yourself halfway through. And I think even giving yourself the mentality of being someone who sees things through, who gets things done, who keeps your promises to yourself, it's so important because that will allow you in any area of your life to really believe in yourself. Whereas if you're always someone who's cutting yourself short, you'll feel the effects of that as well.
Yeah, even just for a diet, a nutrition phase, like just, at the end, hey, there's going to be a point where we can reverse diet, we can add calories back in, we can chill out a little bit more and kind of change gears there. But I just love the concept of locking in and dialing in, and I feel like we've seen these terms kind of come a little bit more now as of late, where it's just like just lock in, like just fully focus. And I think a lot of people have a hard time with that because I think attention spans are pretty bad these days. And yeah, I mean, some of you can probably relate, even myself. I'm just like, I gotta just remind myself, just focus, and focus stands for focus on one course until successful, which I absolutely love there. My quote for this week is, when we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better too, by Paulo Coelho. I don't know the exact last name there. I can't pronounce it, but either way, I love the concept of never ending growth and just evolving or dying. Like Josh and I have always said this from the day one, from when we started our business, from when we just became just started on this path of self-growth and mastery and self-improvement and all that great stuff. And I think it's such an underrated principle, because I think it's so easy to become just complacent and just super chill with everything and happy with everything. And I do believe it is very important to be happy with something, but just at the same time, like when we start focusing on growth in every single area of our life, even myself, I have to catch myself and say, hey, you know what? I'm getting a little too laid back here. It's time to dial in, time to lock in, similar to what I was just saying before there. And it's amazing how every single area of your life will start to improve just naturally when you're focused on self-improvement, just overall, growth books and just like learning and all that great stuff. And it'll apply and sprinkle in different ways to every single area, which is, I think, awesome. And it's a reminder to just keep focused on, just becoming better, the best version of yourself, I should say.
Incredibly well said. And now we're going to jump into our thoughts. And this one, I read a quote this week when I was doing my reading, and obviously being in a cottage, play a lot of board games, which is fun. And I don't know if anyone's played Codenames, but it's really fun because you have to connect words that are available in front of you with one simple word. And it's really hard because you got to get really creative. And obviously in what we do with our business, with our social, with our podcast, there's a lot of creativity that comes behind it. But the concept of creativity, I've spoken about it before on a podcast. It feels good to create. It feels good to think out of the box, to challenge yourself mentally. And I really just love this bonus quote, if you will. So it is, creativity is the focused combination of unlikely things. Your mind locks onto a certain element that searches widely for something unexpected that fits with it. What can scuba diving teach you about agriculture? What can trees teach you about public speaking? There is always some connective tissue between disciplines. If you wish to be more creative, look for the connections between two previously unconnected things. And if you've been listening to our podcast for a while, you know I love to draw parallels. And even Kyle was like, what can I learn from being around my toddler? Like, what fun different things can you pull and learn from that? What can you learn from becoming a better chess player to being a better person? Like, once you kind of have that thinking, it's amazing how you can elevate yourself, your mindset, your attitude when you start to look at life this way and look for these connections. I know this is a little abstract, but I just thought this was a really fun train of thought. And even that, there's your point, there's the creativity in it. So that's my thought for this week.
Beautiful. Yeah, I really like that. I've been really paying attention to this stuff, and I really hope, even I started thinking about the other day how, important it is to just learn from other people, just from kids, from older people, just from absolutely everyone. And that's kind of going back to my quote of just like the mindset of just like consistent growth. And it doesn't have to be this annoying thing where you're just always like, you're never a fun person. I think that's where some people get it wrong, is they think like, oh, if someone's like focused on, being better or improving in fitness or health or whatever, it's like, that's all they do. It's like, no, it's like a combination of just a great amount of that. And then just so many fun activities, like, and just like becoming better at every single thing, whether it's like you want to go out hiking or go out kayaking. Like, how can I become better at this? So yeah, really cool. I like that quote there, and I like that it applies to so many different things there. And the one thing that I had just on the top of my head is that the reason a lot of times people can struggle, I mean, we talk a lot about struggles and why people may not see progress, and the reason is because a lot of times we hear it, right? The amount of hours we spend in the DMs talking to all of you amazing people, and DMs stands for direct messages, which is our Instagram. And feel free to reach out to us at any given point. But we hear a lot about the struggles, the issues, hey, I haven't lost body fat because of this. And it pains us because every single person has so much potential. So that's the reason we talk about it all the time, because we want you to learn from it. And we hear about it a lot, to be completely honest. But one of the main reasons is because the order isn't in place. You're trying to go from step 3 to step 9. And I heard this example from someone who was talking to us recently, actually. And I thought it was just such a great point. It's just, there has to be a strategic order for growth. And especially that could be for building a business, that could be for building a relationship, it could be for building a family, whatever. There are steps that usually have to be taken place that make the most sense. And when we're talking about the fitness journey, like, I think sometimes like people will just completely skip a step. Like, they're on step 3 and they're trying to step right up to step 9, when you're going to be falling over, you're going to be doing the splits, you're not going to be able to properly get there. Like, you might find a way up there, it's not going to be pretty, and it's probably not going to be sustainable. And that's why, once again, bringing it back to what we do and how we just build an actual foundation for someone to lose weight. It's focused on going from one step to another so you can learn the fundamentals and you can succeed for the rest of your life. And that's why so many people will struggle is, I'm talking to the one person who says, hey, I just started on this fitness journey, like I'm just getting into the gym and it's getting exciting, but then they'll have this really unrealistic approach, or they'll try to cut out, all the carbs, and they're going to try to do hours of cardio every day, and they're skipping steps. And I think a lot of times people just need that reminder to focus on that one thing, build up, take one step at a time, and they're going to get there at one point. It may be a little bit slower, but you're going to have the right foundations and you're not going to fall over.
Awesome. Now into our second and final question. We only picked 2 questions today because these are 2 commonly reoccurring questions. They're going to apply to every single person, as I'm sure the first one did. Obviously, it's scale. No one's perfect, and I think learning to cope with that and also push forward and progress in your journey is so imperative. All right. And before we jump into the next question, who is our client shout out this week? We love to share someone who's killing it in our program, who is struggling, and who is now not. Who do we got?
This week we have Dale, and Dale is a prime example of just being a father that wanted to take it to the next level. And I have a text here that he just sent. Maybe I'll share it on the screen here for YouTube. But he said, one of my main goals was just to be comfortable with my shirt off and to enjoy outdoor activities, etc. Just so happy to feel like I'm setting a good example for my kids and not to have the same insecurities. And I thought this was incredible because I know a lot of parents who come to us and they just really want to be able to keep up. It's not even just about the energy, which is obviously a big component, but it's also just feeling like a superhero, feeling like you're the best version of yourself, not just for yourself, but for the kids and everybody that's around you. And it's such an incredible feeling. I know, because we've had so many of these amazing parents share all these great success stories. Hey, I'm able to keep up with them now. I'm able to feel my absolute best at these get-togethers. I'm able to have endless energy. And a lot of people don't realize how energy comes from doing what they're supposed to be doing, between working out, between getting some cardio in, between just building muscle and just eating the right stuff. So when you come into this program, you not only benefit, but your entire family does, because of how you're feeling, because of the confidence levels, because of the energy levels, all that great stuff. So just want to say shout out to Dale. I'm sure he's listening to this right now. I think it's absolutely incredible. And he was someone who was struggling. He wasn't exactly out of shape when he signed up, but he wasn't living up to his potential and he wasn't feeling his best. So I thought it's so awesome how he was able to transform and just get to that next level. So yeah, shout out to you, Dale, and let's keep crushing it.
I've started cutting out all sugars in the last few weeks. No pop, juice, or any treats. I've noticed after losing 6 pounds so far, my progress has stalled out, and I'm not sure what to do to keep going. Any thoughts or questions to keep going towards my goal of 25 pounds lost? So I love this question, because one of the easiest ways to lose weight fast is to be reductionary, to cut out all the nonsense, to do a budget. And it works really effectively. If you start slashing things, obviously you're going to have more money or you're going to lose more fat. The negative is if you start cutting out everything, you say, I'm not drinking coffee anymore because it costs money and I always buy it on the way out and I'm not making it at home or something, and then you're like taking away this joy from your life. I think you really need to analyze what you want to cut out, and that's why we like that more realistic approach. And people always say, what's different about your coaching? And I always say it's that we care, and it's that we get amazing results, and also that we do it from a sustainable approach. I could get you crazy results in 2 weeks. I could help someone lose 14 pounds, probably 20 pounds, honestly. I don't think we'd be having much else aside from water. But you could do crazy things by being so dramatic, so drastic. You could be running till your legs fall off every day, in the gym 3 times. But that isn't sustainable. And if you do this whole thing and then go back to point A, you get nowhere. And that's where fad diets, I wouldn't say this is fad diet. This is a cleanup of your life. But fad diets, which we've seen where you only eat a zucchini 3 times a day, or you're on a liquid juice diet, or you're cutting something out. My problem with these diets is they work well where you're consistent and strict with them, but then when life happens, you fall off them. Similar to the top one, you feel this guilt, you feel like a failure, and then you say, I can't do this. I don't have the capacity to, when you're not just looking in the mirror and aiming to be more realistic and to really find more balance and to say, what do I really value versus what can I slash out? So I do love saying to people, if they haven't done anything and they want to lose weight, one of the easiest things you can do is cut out excess extra sugar. Not to say sugar is inherently horrible for your body. I'm going to have some fruit after this, but it's unnecessary in my opinion to have like a full sugar Coke or Sprite or whatever it may be, or juice. Drinking your calories like that, you're not going to feel satiation. It's going to be hard to have hunger signaling and balance from just having these sugary liquids. Your body's just going to want more. It's really easy to mix hydration with hunger in this realm. So generally I'll say, hey, cut that out. It's just easier that way, and start walking more. It's the easiest way to go about it. Saying so, if you love Sprite more than anything in the world and you want to have one a day, you fit in your calories and you eat otherwise perfectly clean, and Sprite is just that thing you love, maybe that's something you want to analyze. But in terms of composition and health, I would argue that person will be a lot healthier. That person who cuts everything out, binges back on it, gains all that weight back, and losing weight and gaining weight is actually horrible for you. It really messes with your body, your systems, your mentality, I guess. It really isn't a positive for you, and that's where being so all in on something and really just slashing things out and demonizing things is so unhealthy. And that's why I take that approach of saying, hey, if you want to have a sweet, Kyle loves ice cream. If he can fit it in, he'll enjoy that. But also he has the freedom to say, I don't need it. Whereas when things are off limit, if you think of kids, they want to just do it. They gravitate to that thing. And it's easy to be hyper fixated on something when you see things as completely off limits versus when you look for balance. If you're like 80% healthy foods, I'm going to have something fun in that 20%. Food is social, food is fun, And that's where like this will get you great results, because you're going to be in such a reduction of calories from cutting out all these things that actually are applying an excess amount of calories, but it just isn't sustainable. And it's hard to maneuver from there because it's not teaching you the pillars of what actually creates change. As we've talked about in the past, calories in, calories out, that is what actually is going to be a mover for you. Learn to exercise, learn to change your body compositions, and really understanding how pushing and pulling on these levers can get you consistent weight loss. And that's why it's so easy for me to have clients losing 2 to 3 pounds, being fully satiated, feeling nice and full, eating all their favorite foods, going to all their favorite events, not spending ridiculous times cooking or in the gym, because I just understand that line of thinking and I can help do that in a way where they'll see this long-term progress. Whereas doing this is like a quick fix where, yes, you're going to see a lot of weight loss at the stop, but it's really easy to plateau. So I would challenge this individual to look to the fundamentals, longer term thinking, or even better yet, sign up for coaching, because I take care of everything for this. And if you're not ready to do that yet, you just need to really look at like, am I tracking my food? Am I hitting my protein? Am I moving enough? Am I actually in enough of a deficit? Do I have a long-term plan? Am I on an incredible gym routine? These are going to be the big movers that will help you get to that 25 pounds, and not just 25 pounds of weight loss, but also seeing 25 pounds of fat loss while gaining new muscle, maximizing composition, and you'll be able to do it way healthier, way faster, and way more sustainable than someone who crash diets like this.
That was so well said, and I'm really glad that Josh jumped into that, because this was actually a question and a conversation I had with someone in person just over a week ago. He specifically said this exact thing to me, and I'm glad Josh covered exactly what I was going to say, because that's what I had said to this individual. And where it gets really tough is that he has started to see some changes, like we had mentioned, by just cutting out that nonsense, decreasing the calories a little bit, tightening things up a little bit. You will see a little bit of change. But I like asking a lot of questions, because for me as a coach, it helps me learn and understand where someone's at. And that's why even just having all of you in the DMs, just being able to understand your situation, we can give you tips and also put together something based off of your scenario. So understanding, and I said, hey, so what are your calories at? It's like, oh, I'm not sure. Like, I have no idea. How much protein are you having? I think a little bit. I'm not really sure. And so by me asking these questions, it helps me understand that he will see a little bit of changes for the first little bit because of the tightening up. But until you know the actual data and start to understand how to make those adjustments, decrease calories, increase protein, increase cardio, or decrease cardio, in this case would be increasing it, we're not going to be able to get past a certain point. Unfortunately, you're going to lose a lot of muscle. Unfortunately, you probably just won't lose enough weight because you're not aware of the overall calorie intake, and you're just going to end up plateauing. And even past that, not having an exit strategy, so asking him specific questions about, so what are you going to do after all this? Like, there was just no intention. There was no idea there. And I'm saying this all from love, because a lot of times people just don't really know what they're doing. They're just not sure what approach to take. And when I started to give some tips and start to, explain the process and how it should work, he had said, oh, well, I think I'll wait until I want to enjoy summer with my kids. And I'm like, you can still enjoy summer with your kids, because what's happening here is he thinks that everything has to be restrictive. This individual thinks that he can't have an ice cream cone with his kids. If they say, hey, we're going to the cottage and daddy, let's get a cone, he thinks that he has to just restrict. He can't have it. He can't fit it in. And there's a lot of underlying beliefs here that's going to cause a constant up and down cycle for the next little while. And that's why I just wanted to address this question, because there's no data being taken into consideration. The concept of just thinking I can only have this and I can't have any of this stuff here is going to cause a lot of back and forth. It's going to cause maybe some fights and whatnot. It's not going to be fun and enjoyable, whereas you should be able to fit this fun thing in. And although you should be cutting out a lot of unnecessary stuff, you can still absolutely enjoy, like Josh said, that ice cream cone if you want to. And we're just using that as an example because we did enjoy one yesterday, which was awesome. But there's just so many different things to consider here. And I know a lot of people who are in this scenario where they say, hey, I'm going to start to eat a little bit better. I'm going to start to make a few better choices, but without having the actual data, without understanding and taking those few extra minutes to put things into MyFitnessPal to track your calories. Like the amount of people who say, hey, I'm way too busy for all of this stuff, but then they're not going to take that extra time to, put it into MyFitnessPal, when in reality, their screen time is probably 6-7 hours. Like, I'm just here to say the thing that's hard for me to say right now, because I know a lot of people are struggling for these specific reasons. So yeah, just wanted to answer that. Just want to pop off, and hopefully that's helpful to you. And that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for spending time with us here at the cottage with some chill vibes. Just nice little lake is to the side. You can't exactly see it, but yeah, always looking to improve, make sure we're as consistent as possible. Like I said, follow us on Instagram, send us a message. If you have any questions for the show, if you need any support, please send us a message with the keyword fat loss. We'd be happy to take care of you with our guaranteed approach. There's literally no risk involved, and I can promise you, no matter who you are, no matter how busy your job is, how many kids you have, how old you are, we will get you there with Josh, myself, my team. We will take care of you, and we can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.